ladies and gentlemen. It's a bit late. I think some are already having a beer, but let's start. So I would like to introduce our two speakers today. Next to me is Varun, the head of Martech from Sky Group. And this gentleman is Andreas from Carwow, who runs OEMs and media globally for Carwow. We're going to talk today about how a CDP can help elevate, let's say, the customer experience or improve customer experience. So, Varun, looking at why companies buy CDPs. CDP right now is a bit like everybody wants it, nobody knows why. Why do you think usually companies would embark on the CDP journey, decide to buy one?
Well, good evening, everyone. So that's absolutely right. It is becoming a bit of a buzzword since last couple of years. And I'll probably take a step back and even think about some of the businesses and marketing organizations investing so heavily in Martech, and they're buying technology left, right, and center, which is leading to a bit of a data fragmentation. And there is usually a layer that is missing, which is orchestrating, bringing it all together. And for us, CDP is that central layer that brings it all together. It brings in all the data sources for the customer. It brings in all the technologies, all the attributes across different touch points. And in a nutshell, it helps us better understand our customer. And that is very important for us at Sky, to have that deeper understanding of the customer. And that is one of the reasons why we decided to buy a CDP. However, having said that, I would caveat that CDP is not a silver bullet and it doesn't solve all your problems. You still need things like the right decisioning engine, the right content factory model, the right distribution platform. But it does great things if you use it for the right use cases. And that's why we had that sort of initial investment into what are the right use cases, what is the right priorities that we want to focus on from a CDP perspective, and had a very use case-based approach on why we even need a CDP. And I think it has worked for us. Every business would have a different list of use cases. Some might think of it as a personalization tool. Some might think of it as cross-sell, upsell, or a way to reduce churn, a way to reduce call center volumes, or even divert traffic from web to app. And the list can go on, and we can be here all evening talking about the use cases. But what works for you, for your business, ultimately matters.
Yeah, use case are a very important word. We're going to hear more about it later. But Andreas, in your case, one could argue that Carwow being part of the wider automotive industry, you don't really need a CDP, do you? Because you don't have a direct contact with the end user.
Yeah, so maybe also good evening to everyone. I guess Sky is maybe, everyone is familiar with Sky. Just a few words on Carwow. So we are a new car marketplace. So actually Europe's biggest new car marketplace. And basically helping consumers finding their next new car. Or also in the UK, we started helping consumers selling their next car, selling their car. So just to give some context, and I agree, the automotive industry, and especially when we're talking about the car manufacturers, the brands, historically they didn't really have like a direct contact to the consumer. It was more the dealership. And also when talking about marketing, it's maybe not the strength, even today, of the manufacturers to manage that direct relationship with the consumer. We see now the trend of more and more D2C brands coming, like Tesla, Polestar, etc. So they are actually now trying to really get to the direct connection with the consumer. For us, it's, at Carwow, it was always different because we are a marketplace. We always had and will have the direct connection with the consumer. So we are helping the consumers, so we have to be in direct contact with them. And for us, there are like basically two different perspectives on how we see CDP. So one is obviously the marketing perspective of our Carwow marketing teams. We have a strong team, and I think we're doing a really great job in terms of marketing, but there are many like use cases, like you said, we can talk about that later as well, where we see still a lot of potential for us as Carwow. And on the other hand, I think like in the other hall, like everybody talks about retail media, and that's basically also what we as a marketplace are currently establishing. So we are also adding an advertising business on top of our marketplace business, and this is where we also see a lot of opportunities using a CDP.
Varun, Sky ran a massive RFP process to select a CDP vendor. if you look at these large processes, which for sure take a lot of companies' effort and resources, what are your learnings if you reflect on your, let's say, 1 year of experience running this large project?
It is rather a difficult process, I must admit, because the devil is in the detail when it comes to CDP. And you would look at most of the CDPs in the market and they can mostly do what you would expect from a CDP. Like they would ingest data, they would be able to do segmentation, they'll be able to do some reconciliation, expose the data to downstream systems. But then there are a few CDPs that go above and beyond that. And they're the ones who could also do your cross-channel activation and orchestration. They could probably enrich your customer profiles with third-party identifiers, do a bit of an ID graph. So it's only when you look under the hood, you find these value-added functionalities. So that's one way of looking at it from an RFP perspective in terms of comparing the features and functionalities of different CDPs that there are in the market. And often RFPs do that, right? They compare this thing. But the way we did it was slightly different. We constructed our RFP based on a use case approach. And you're going to hear this word a lot, use cases. We did a bit of, you could call it homework in terms of doing a bit of brainstorming around what is it that we really want the CDP to deliver, and then reverse engineer that to see, in order for us to get those use cases delivered, what are the features and functionalities we need from our CDP vendor. So that was the approach where we brought different teams together. We did lots of workshops within our internal teams and came up with a list of these prioritized use cases. And then, of course, after that, it was the usual process of doing a thorough scoring process, understanding which vendor does what, can they deliver the use cases or not. But one very important element of that RFP was also the operating model and the people side of things, which is often overlooked, because CDP brings with it a lot of changes in the organization. So we do ask that question in our RFP as well, like what is the vendor going to help us with in terms of that change in operating model and in the people aspect of things. And then finally, I would say we ran a POC and that really helped. Do a 6 to 8 weeks POC to show value, that it works, get the stakeholder buy-in, and then pick up your final vendor that you want to work with.
So after the RFP, the tender process is done and you select the vendor, then the implementation starts. And as you just said, a CDP is like, I always say, it's like a Swiss knife. You can do a lot with it, right? But it comes down to how you prioritize the use cases and really map the use cases to, let's say, business value and effort of implementation. What are your learnings on the implementations in the case of Carwow, Andreas?
So, like you said, Swiss knife, right? So everybody thinks of, okay, we can do everything with it. So it starts with ideation, long-term strategy, what's the North Star, what we can do, and this is where you can like fall into this trap of like just discussing philosophical things, like what you want to do in future. But actually it's about like really focusing and again, use cases, right? Really focus on like what are the first steps you want to do, because speaking for Carwow, obviously we didn't have a CDP, so nobody was really didn't have the expertise of what can we really expect, how does it work, how does it feel to work with the CDP. So it's really about finding your first step-by-step approach with maybe rather small use cases, but start fast, and then also bringing all the relevant departments together. It doesn't help if you just start with or work within the marketing team, because you potentially build a second layer of data truth in a way, but the actual one is another one. And then at the end, in the long term, you have inefficiencies in terms of data management. So it's about really getting together data engineering, marketing, all the relevant roles, analytics, and then obviously get the buy-in from top management that we really have to focus on that. And then, question for us, obviously we are still a scale-up, really focused on efficiency. So the decision was, okay, not to hire a big external support or freelancer for the implementation, which was actually a challenge because we kind of underestimated also the efforts you have to put in. And on the other hand, internal challenges always come up in terms of reprioritizations of product teams, which also slowed us down a little bit. So that was a learning we had at the end.
Yeah, looking at the CDP market from our perspective, a lot of CDP projects take very long. Right? It comes back to the Swiss knife problem. Sometimes there's not enough, let's say, senior sponsorship. People have different incentives, different targets, different motivations. So it's really all about the use case, right? Which becomes very clear here. This topic is about customer experience. So what kind of use cases would you suggest short-term and more longer-term really unlock value from the CDP and improve customer experience? And what does that actually mean?
Yeah. So I think the best thing to do is to start small and then go big. And the way you want to start is you want to start by identifying the low-hanging fruit in terms of use cases. So as you rightly said, map those use cases on a simple 2x2 matrix, value versus effort. Which are the ones that is unleashing most commercial upside with the least amount of implementation effort. And don't try to achieve all at once, because that is one of the big learnings we had was, don't try to go with this big bang live. Go understand what are those use cases, understand what are the data sources that you need to connect. Don't try to connect all the data sources, and see what can you achieve in a short timeline. Because your stakeholders start getting impatient, they start losing interest, because it could, a full-scale CDP implementation could take up to 12 months. But you don't have that much amount of time. So try to prioritize your use cases. One of the areas I would say is that we know that cookies are going to go away unless Google changes its mind again, but we know they're going to go away in H2 2024. So DMPs are going to become less relevant, and therefore paid channels is an area where you want to start. And most organizations are in a similar state where they're naturally looking at paid media as an area to start to introduce CDP into. But then also widen the sort of customer journeys and rethink about what are the important stages of your customer. Based on your KPIs, it could be around prospecting, it could be around existing customers, or it could be around retention, and see how you could rethink those customer journeys using CDP. And I think we've done that exercise in conjunction with the business, helping them understand what is the value that they would get out of it, almost using the use cases as the currency within our organization to say, with this use cases, you get this million uplift in sales, or this much cost saving. So make it quite quantitative so that the vision is clear in terms of what the benefits are. One of the obvious use cases, as you mentioned, as a quick win is, how do we exclude the customer segments from advertising who have just recently bought your products? It's a very simple use case, but a very effective one, because you don't want your customers to see advertisements of products that they already have. So you could actually save your media budget, and you can reallocate that to a bit more personalized marketing campaign that is more sensible for that customer segment. So those are some of the ones that we think were useful for us in the first life.
How is that different for Carwow? So what are for you the main use case where you say, this is something where we can really have a fundamental impact over time?
So again, like two perspectives, like one now from a marketing perspective. We decided to, like I said, like the new business line we established in the UK market is the opportunity to sell your car with Carwow. So that's basically where we want to focus, where we see the short-term impact as well, as we want to grow this business. And we are pretty strong, like our marketing team is really strong in managing and optimizing our marketing channels, but kind of as a silo. So this is where we really see this opportunity to really connect them, and then provide a better customer journey and optimize conversion. So at the end, obviously we make more money because it's a better customer experience, and therefore customers are converting better and can sell their car at the end. So that's one use case. The other one is also connected to, from a marketing perspective, connected to the Sell My Car business we're having, is obviously we want to bring people onto the Carwow journey so that they list their car on our platform to sell it. And we want to find, obviously, lookalikes using Zeotap as well, to just like increase this audience size and bring more people into the funnel, which is then converting through this. So these are like two perspectives from the marketing perspective. And then the advertising side, we, as I said, like the retail media business, it's all about data, it's about audiences. And we want to provide like even better products to our mainly like OEM brand partners when advertising on Carwow. So we see different use cases, and we want to starting small. It's just about optimizing the targeting opportunities on our website for our inventory, just for the fact to better utilize the inventory, so we can basically sell more to our clients and really ensure that we are showing ads very basic, but it's important to the relevant audience. We don't need to show, let's say, an ICE car to somebody where we clearly know he or she is interested in buying an EV. That's one use case, and the other one is also the classic like retail media approach. You have your on-site business and you have off-site business, and this is also where we see a huge advantage using the CDP and Zeotap, so that we can really provide audiences to our partners, which they can also reach outside and offsite the Carwow platform, which will be a huge benefit for our partners and also for the customers.
Maybe one more question. So let's assume the use case are perfectly scoped, right? You have the 2x2 metrics, everybody is for now aligned. The vendors picked, the RFP is done successfully, the POC is successful. Now people have to collaborate. Humans can be complicated, right? We're all humans. The IT team wants this, they have different priorities. The retail media teams wants that. The marketing team, somebody gets sick, somebody's leaving the company. How do you align people? Because if you buy a new tool, and CDPs tend to be expensive, let's face it, right? It's a big investment for a company. How do you bring teams together in a way that you, not once, but really, create this motion of, hey, we have something new, let's build big business, let's make it successful. So how do you align teams?
Yeah, that's a very good point, and I'm going to continue your analogy of the Swiss knife because I really like that. A CDP is kind of a system that cuts through the fabric of the organization. It really does, right? It really changes a lot of things in the organization. And it's really important that we take the wider organization along with this in the journey. So to your point, we have to make sure right from the start, and we have to start early to make sure that we've got the right buy-in, that all your stakeholders are onboarded with the plan, they understand what the value is, what CDP can do and cannot do, equally important. And then once everyone is on the same page, then you also need to dot the I's and cross the T's. You have to do your due diligence. You have to make sure that you're connecting the data teams, the technology teams, the marketing teams. If you're working with an SI partner, your CDP vendor, you're all coming together as one team, and you're standing there presenting to your stakeholders in one voice, in one sort of tone, saying that these are the use cases we'll deliver, this is the business case attached to it, and this is the plan of how we'll deliver it in the next 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and 12 months. So I think having that sort of detailed thoroughness in your work automatically reflects that you're very well organized, you know what you're doing, you have a clear vision and plan, and then people generally get attracted to you and wants to be part of your team as well. And not to say there are going to be challenges in every program, like we did as well, but as long as you have the right stakeholder buy-in, you have the right team on it, and you have a clear plan and a vision, ultimately things would work out in the end. So I think that's all I have to say, but there are definitely going to be factors that you won't be able to control at the end, right? But you have to take things as they come.
I don't want to repeat everything, but I agree. Maybe just to pick something out, like at the end it has to be tangible for the people, I guess. Like that's again the topic about like the long-term vision. If you say like CDP, everyone has like some thoughts maybe, but like it's I think to motivate people they need to understand why they are doing something and where's an impact, what's happening, why am I doing it, and I think that's again communication about this like tangible outcomes, short term, but obviously always with the condition that you have the buy-in from the top, because otherwise they can be difficult.
Now the cookieless future is ahead. The industry is talking about it for I don't know 3-4 years already. By January, I think Google announced 1% of cookies will die and then potentially phasing more and more out over time. What does that mean, one, for your CDP project? Two, what does it mean to help, from your company perspective, roll out more consent programs, so to get more consent, right? What does that cookieless future mean for you currently?
So I think it is very important that we understand what happens after the cookies will go away, and the importance of first-party data, because that is going to be quite key in understanding how do you actually ensure that your marketing spend is being spent most efficiently and effectively. DMPs are becoming less relevant, so how do you want to use CDP to maximize the usage of your first-party data is going to be quite critical. and working alongside your consent management platforms, making sure that you've got the right approvals from your data privacy people, your compliance, your security, and taking them on board on this journey with you to make sure that you have a unified approach towards this is the key to this.
Andreas, we sometimes say in client situations that companies should make consent management, so the management of opt-in, like a CEO strategy or priority, otherwise nothing changes, because people don't like to touch the topic. It's somehow uncomfortable. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think it's a fair point. I would say we at Carwow is also not there yet. We also have many tasks to do, but also like from a Carwow perspective, we are looking pretty positive towards the future, because Carwow actually, our core flow is designed in a way that people are signing in. So we have the email addresses of the people. So we actually have a really strong first-party data.
So you're walled garden effectively.
So yeah, we kind of are. So this is actually it's even more strengthening our position in future. But definitely we have some homework to do like for our own marketing as well, just to be future-proof.
Well, that's about the topics from our side. We have a couple of minutes left, so if there's any question from the audience, we could open it up. Not sure about if it's loud enough. So any questions from the audience?
Sorry, I can't hear you, but come closer. Which vendor for CDP? Okay. So the question is, which vendor we're using for CDP, for Sky? I think it is sort of obvious as well, because we are here with Zeotap, so we are using Zeotap, so I wouldn't hide that. So we're using Zeotap CDP, and we went through a very, very strict sort of due diligence process of evaluating different vendors and what are the different features and functionalities that different CDPs have to offer, the best of breed versus the best of suits, but eventually we agreed on using Zeotap as our preferred CDP partner of choice.
Surprise.
Hello, Andrea here from Primitive. You mentioned that it's important to maximize the use of your first-party data, hence investing in a CDP. How are you able to do that currently in channels such as the open web, where there's not much of authenticated data, and it is generally difficult maximizing your first-party data?
And what kind of channel, what are the measures to maximize the first-party data volumes on the open web?
The addressability.
I'm happy to take that if it's...
Yeah, you can, yeah.
So what we always tell vendors, and this has, what we always tell our prospects or clients, and this has nothing to do with us as a CDP vendor, look at all the potential options in the cookieless future to maximize reach. So you have probabilistic ID solutions such as ID5. You have deterministic ID solutions such as LiveRamp, right? There's the trade desk which operates partly their own ID, partly part of an open ecosystem, right? If I was an enterprise and I was afraid of millions of ad budget being not targetable anymore, I would look at all of them and probably do all of them. And I would use a CDP, whatever CDP I use, to orchestrate the journey, because the CDP sits early in the value chain, right? If you think about the value chain left to right from your perspective, right? You gather first-party data, then you consolidate it, and then you push it somewhere, you activate it. And where you activate it is where you approach the user, right, in the end. And if you can't approach the user anymore because there's no cookie, you need to find alternatives. And instead of looking only at deterministic or only at probabilistic solutions, do them all, right, and stack them up, including Google cohorts or whatever they call it today, right? I'm a bit behind time, right? Do all of it.
Just wanted to pick up where you were just said, do all of it. Does Sky or Carwow have any experience right now with doing all of it? Basically preparing Zeotap based for cookieless campaigning?
Sorry, did you get the question?
We didn't get the question fully. Changwon,
So basically, you just said use all the solutions that you can get hold of, be it identifiers, be it deterministic models, and does Sky or Carwow in their paid campaigning right now run pilots where they do CDP-based all of it and have any learnings so far that they could share?
So maybe from a Carwow perspective, too early phase right now. So yeah, unfortunately, nothing to share. So, but actually, yeah, it's on the roadmap. It's important for us, but we are now focusing on that for the next months.
And where we are with Sky on CDP is that we are almost on the verge of implementing CDP at Sky, but we've already got a plan for next phase, the phase after that, the phase after that, and we've got a huge backlog of use cases, which we review regularly with our SI partner, with our CDP vendor, with our internal teams, and we constantly review and prioritize those use cases because the cookie landscape is changing so fast. There are legal cases on Facebook and Google at the moment that could change things overnight. So it's very important that you have all those use cases in your back pocket, but you're also constantly reviewing which one is more relevant in today's time versus which will be more relevant next year or the year after.
I think we have time for one more question. That's it? Good. Well, thank you very much to Varun and Andreas. I hope for the audience there was some news in here about the complexity of implementing a complicated tool. Thank you very much and enjoy the parties at night.
Thank you.